protest is, at least in my experience, it's been a way to like gain power back that you've lost, or gain power back that you've never had, and to kind of like prove to people that you matter and that you exist. And I feel like it's really easy, especially with like government, to like get into the whole like mindset of the only people that matter are the government. Like, oh, this matters because he's paying me for this, and he's like, if I vote on this, then he's gonna vote on this, and then she's gonna vote on this, and then like it all kind of falls into place for my like re-election, instead of like this affects real people. And I feel like protests means like being reminded, like, this affects people. You're affecting people, you're hurting people, or you might not be hurting people, whatever you're doing, it affects people, and we just don't want you to forget that we're there. I'm Sydney Tague. I'm the president of the Feminist Alliance at UK, and I'm a senior in Arabic and Islamic Studies and International Studies. In fall 2016, the reasoning, well, the kind of way that kind of came about was it was the week after the election, and we had like a potluck meeting, and everyone was kind of like down because the election didn't go the way that everyone had planned, and I think the general consensus was that there was like a feeling of powerlessness about the whole thing, and so we kind of started talking about that, and like talking about like, okay, well, we can't really do anything about the election and about the fact that this has happened, but what is something that we can actually maybe have an impact on campus or near us, or like in Lexington. And the topic of sexual assaults on campus came up. Decided, we had heard about the case on campus of a professor sexually assaulting 5 students, 2 of which were women and 3 of which were men. And it wasn't dealt with in a way that we thought was acceptable, and the colonel, actually, like the Kentucky colonel of the paper, tried to report on it. The UK sued them for trying to write a article about it and stuff like that. And so we kind of chose that as like the like topic that we wanted to have a protest about, and also like it was the
like, catalyst.
Yeah. And it was like a combination of that case and also the fact that UK has such a problem with sexual assault, and that there's such like an issue with like reporting it and like having things done about it. Like, we have a lot of like centers and stuff, that places you can go to get things done, but it's not necessarily effective. And so that was kind of like, we're like, you know what, that's something small that we could actually do. So I was actually really impressed with how quickly we put that together, because we had our meeting on a Wednesday and that protest was on a Friday morning. We had all gone to like Walmart or wherever we went and got a bunch of posters and got a bunch of stuff, and just went to the library, and like 10 or 15 of us kind of like rotated in and out and just were painting and like making posters and stuff like that. And it was really fun, actually. And it was like the perfect response to that election, because it gave us something to do, and it gave us something like to focus on positively. Like, we're being able to like be part of this change, or be part of like, awareness of it, because there's a lot of people that have actually like come to me and been like, I actually didn't know anything about that, like, tell me more. So that was the 2016 protest, and I think we had like 50 people around that, and it was really fun, and it was just a really good like community and like feeling about it, and it was like a really positive experience to kind of counteract the election. We always get kind of notified about a day or 2 in advance that people are coming to protest abortion on campus. This year was especially like gruesome. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but it was horrendous and shocking. But we weren't the ones who planned it. The Clear Project came to me or the president of the Book Project came to me and said that they wanted to do a protest and would we be interested in being involved. And obviously that's like our thing, is being involved and stuff like that. But so I kind of just told everybody in our group, and I was like, this is what's happening, this is when it's happening, if you'd like to be part of it, go for it. And also Planned Parenthood, there's like a representative from Planned Parenthood. She's actually kind of started working pretty closely with us. We like come together to work on things like sexual assault and like sexual education and stuff like that. But they were there and they actually brought a lot of like signs and stuff that was helpful in like having a protest, because most of like what we had was just like people passing by, going to class, being outraged by what was going on and kind of joining us. And so that one was more of just kind of like saw it, joined it kind of thing. That one really made me mad because it was just really gruesome and like not, I don't know, like I've never gotten an abortion and I was like very upset about what was going on. So I couldn't even imagine somebody who had gotten an abortion trying to just walk to class. So that one was more, for me at least, it was more about like protecting our students from having to be like traumatized on the way to class. In the past, they've had stuff like that, but it's like they'll set up like a little tent and have like pink crosses or something in the lawn of like how many abortions happen every like however many days or years or whatever. And like they'll have like pamphlets and stuff, so it's not like graphic. But this time I like walked up and I was like, oh my god, like this is horrifying. I'd say that I would consider it a success, especially given how quickly we put it together, because in my head I couldn't make that make sense in my head, because like I was like, there's no way we're gonna be able to get this done in like a day and a half. And I was like, it's a Friday, nobody's gonna care, nobody's gonna come out and do anything, like they're not gonna want to participate, and it's just gonna be like awkward and stuff like that. But it actually like really got people's attention. Like people, like it was a protest / march, and we like marched through campus, but like walked through campus. Hey, I don't know, march seems so like intense. Yeah, but so we kind of like went through campus and we had like a route that we had planned out and stuff like that. And people kind of like kept just coming on and be like, oh yeah, this is awesome, like let's be a part of it, which I thought was really cool. And I think our goal for that one, we didn't really have like a specific goal or anything. It was mostly just like to raise awareness, and I think we did. And like we got on like 2 or 3 different news channels, like a couple of different newspapers, like the school newspaper. Like a lot of people covered it, and a lot of people learned about it. And like I think it even got on the Huffington Post, which I thought was really cool. I would say that one was successful, and mostly also the whole point of us doing that was to kind of lift everyone's spirits and let everyone know that they're not alone, and that just because the president isn't someone that we trust to make good decisions and like stand up for people, that doesn't mean that nobody will stand up for them. And so I think that like did accomplish that goal. So I would say that one was a success. In the anti-abortion one, or anti-abortion, I guess, that one was kind of like, we can't stop them. Like, we can't make them go away because they have free speech. They have the right to be here, and like, there was like a loophole, because like, I think that's mostly for students to have free speech in that area, but like, they got a student organization to sign off on it, and it was really irritating. Like, I asked them, I was like, why do you have the ability to be here if you're not students? And they were really rude and really like aggressive, or one of the guys was. The rest were like okay, but that whole thing was like, we can't kick you out because you have a right, and we can't like get people to unsee what you're saying or doing or showing, but like we can stand in front of you, and we can like tell people that are upset by this, it's okay, like it's okay for you to be upset, I'm sorry that you had to see this, like if you need anything, let me know. Whenever you have that much emotion, it's like, it's just like a really good way to channel it into that, and it seems to work. So I think that's kind of why that happens, like why people decide to protest. I feel like for me, protest is like a kind of like a reminder that you can't, like, things don't just go unnoticed. Like, whatever you do doesn't just go unnoticed. Partially for the government, partially for, like, whatever you're dealing with. Like, is it school or, like, a company or something like that. It's like, you might be so caught up in your world that you don't remember that we exist, but we do exist, and we're not okay with it. Or we're not okay with what you're doing. And so it's kind of like I don't know, it's like a check. It's one of our checks and balances, I feel like.